Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. Wa anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa ashabi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. I welcome you all to the second lecture in this series of lectures, inshallah, over the course of this year and next year, where we're discussing the Seerah. And we said yesterday, Seerah means history. Everybody has a Seerah here. Seerah means biography. From the day you're born until today, what is your Seerah? Everybody has a Seerah. So we are studying the life or the history, the biography of the greatest man, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised him that he shall raise up his praise. وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ. Allah said to his Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, after you're an orphan, nobody was there to take care of you, and you're poor, you did not have any wealth, and you are just Muhammad ibn Abdullah. After that, Allah says, وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ. We raised up your mention. And every corner of the world today, his name is being mentioned. That is the promise of Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he praised his character. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. You are upon a great character. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he praised him that he has no sins. وَوَضَعْنَا عَنْكَ وِزْرَكَ الَّذِي أَنْقَضَ ظَهْرَكَ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he praised him in so many ways which he did not praise any other human being. And it is enough that he gave him his message, the last message that no other prophet is going to come. So we mentioned 10 points yesterday on why it is so important to study the Prophet's Seerah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So point number 1 was what? As you know, this is a class. It's not just another lecture. So in a class, there's a teacher and there's students. And any fruitful, successful class has to be interactive. There has to be participation. If you're just spectators, usually doesn't work out well. You'll become bored or you'll start going on your phone. By the way, when you see me going on my phone, I need to pull out some notes, I need to read a hadith. I'm not chatting. I'm not chatting. So, we mentioned 10 points. For those of you who were here last night, why we should study the Seerah. Very quickly, let's go through them. Number 1. Doctor. Because the Prophet ﷺ is the role model for anyone who wants to go to Jannah. You cannot go to Jannah without studying his life. Taib. Number 2. There's no way to understand the Quran without the Seerah of the Prophet ﷺ. Meaning the Seerah is an explanation of the Quran. Number 3. The Seerah is the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, which you have to follow, which is the Hablul Mateen, the strong rope you hold on so you don't get deviated, especially in times of fitna like now. The Seerah, we said, never forget that formula. It's a mathematical formula. Seerah equals Sunnah. Sunnah equals Seerah. Taib. Number 4. Umar. Very good. It is one of the best ways to increase your iman. It is one of the best ways to increase your iman. And I said this is perfect timing, a month after Ramadan. We are all up there, alhamdulillah, in Ramadan. Then Shawwal is always called slow time. And then it's one of the best things to do to increase your iman. Taib. Number 5. Naam, yes, akhi. it increases greatly our love for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is one of the fundamentals of Iman. Number 6, for those who were there yesterday, it teaches you how to lead a balanced life, how to be a good Muslim and a good human being in the outside world. You can never be balanced without studying the Prophet ﷺ in his Seerah. And he said, why? Because Allah sent him as a human being. He was human. He was a father. He was a husband. He was the leader. He was a businessman. He was a shepherd before that. And he was the Imam. How did he balance life? You go through his Seerah. What are we at? 7? Number 7. We say this is a specific point on how to give da'wah with the correct methodology. What is the right way of giving da'wah? And we said we see all the lives, I just had the word, not levels. Stage, very good. The stages of the life of the Prophet ﷺ. He began in Mecca where it was so hostile. In fact, he couldn't even preach outward, openly. He had to hide. How do you give da'wah in that situation? Maybe you live in a country where they don't want you to preach Islam. And then he gave da'wah openly in Mecca, when it was still hostile. And then he migrated to Medina, which was not a Muslim country, but they were welcome. How did he give da'wah there in the early stages of Medina? And then Medina became a Muslim country. How did he give da'wah then? We need this, we said, more specific. Why? Because we are ambassadors of Islam. We live in a non-Muslim land where we have been welcomed, except for these young brothers and sisters who are born here. But most of us, we came here. The best thing we can do to appreciate the fact that people open their doors for us is not to give them money. They don't want the money, in fact. All they want your taxes. Other than that, is to give them Islam. Or the least you do, show them this is what Islam is. Then you have a choice. So how do you do da'wah? You have to go to the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ. Number 8. The seerah and the way it has been compiled, it is one of the signs that he was a true prophet. It is one of the signs, dalil min dalail al-nubuwah. It is one of signs of prophethood. It proves to you that, okay, he was really a prophet. He was really a prophet. And number 10? 9, sorry. It is the door to happiness. You can never lead a balanced life, like we said. You cannot know how to explain the Quran, how to practice your Islam without the seerah. And that is the only way to be happy. Allah promised those who follow His way, He'll give them a happy life. Allah promised happiness for those who follow His way, meaning those who try to be good Muslims. And we gave the example, we said how the Prophet ﷺ, he was not wealthy, rich, materialistically. He was not. Yet he is the happiest man. Why? Because as he taught us, إِنَّمَا الْغِنَى غِنَى الْقَلْبِ. True richness is the contentment of the heart. And we said number 10, finally, why we should study the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, because no, I didn't say that. Very good. It's a shame on you and me as Muslims that we don't know our own Prophet. It's a shame, actually. There's no excuse. Me and you, we're born Muslims or we've been Muslims, we reverted for last 5, 6, 7, 10 years. You don't have an excuse to not know your Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So today we start the road to remove that shame from ourselves. And I told you from my personal experience, the last 3 years, all I've been reading mostly is the seerah. Because I looked at myself especially and said, How do you not know these details? So, once we said that, then we said also the main sources of the Seerah. Now, where do we get the Seerah? Toronto Star, the Ottawa, what kind of newspapers you have up here? Okay, Ottawa Citizen, that's where you get the Seerah. Facebook, Twitter. Oh, that will be a very long Seerah timeline. Yes. You have to go to the books of the Sunnah, which are the books of Hadith. Because again, remember, Seerah equals to Sunnah. Sunnah equals to Seerah. So where we get the Sunnah? The books of Hadith. Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawood, Ibn Majah, Tirmidhi, Ahmad. The books of Hadith, they compile what? The life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that is the Seerah. Number two, the Quran. And the Quran is full of the Seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And number three, the books which the scholars of Islam, they wrote specifically for Seerah. We said, what is the first book which was written? That's a trick question. What was the first book which was written? Not who's the one who wrote or ordered the book to be written. What was the first book written and by who? Naam. And Abdullah wala ar-Rahmah. Al-Maghazili of who? Your father is giving you the answers. I see that cooperation there. MashaAllah, Allahumma barak. What was the first book which was written? We said there's few people who wrote about the Seerah. Urwa bin Zubair. Before that, Muawiyah gave the order for the Seerah to be written, but they don't say who's actually wrote it during the time of Muawiyah. He gave the order, the Seerah has to be written, but they didn't say who took the job, or at least I did not find that out. But Urwa bin Zubair was well and alive at that same time. And he wrote the book Al-Maghazi. And this is something I want to bring to your attention. Some of the books of the Seerah, they are called Maghazi. Maghazi is the plural of the word, which is Ghazwa. Ghazwa is a military expedition. People come together, Muslims, and they go out to spread Islam or to fight. The plural of Ghazwa is Maghazi. They call the Seerah Maghazi. Why? Because it's a major part of the Seerah, not the big part of the Seerah. It's not like the whole Seerah is just the Prophet was fighting, no. But it's a major part. So they just call the Seerah Maghazi. So you see they call their books Kitab al-Siyar wal-Maghazi. So Urwa bin Zubair, he wrote the book. And he died in the year 93 Hijri. Urwa bin Zubair is the main student of Aisha radiallahu anha. Urwa bin Zubair is the main student of Aisha radiallahu anha. Why? Because he had personal access. That was his aunt. How was she his aunt? What was the relation? Not you, Shaykh Ashur. Anybody except you. Yes. How? I want the women to answer this actually. How was Urwa related to Aisha? Because Urwa, he is Ibn Zubair. His father is Zubair ibn Awam. And Zubair was married to Asma bint Abu Bakr, the older sister of Aisha. So obviously Urwa was the nephew of Aisha, so he had all the access to Aisha. Aisha didn't have to wear her niqab and be around the hijab to teach him. He walks in. That is why he got all this knowledge, Urwa. But unlike his brother, we said Abdullah, who was older, Urwa never saw the Prophet ﷺ. So he's not from the Sahabi, but he's from the Tabi'een. So he wrote a book on the Seerah. After him, we mentioned who? We mentioned Wahb ibn Munabbih. And Wahb ibn Munabbih is one of the main students of Abu Huraira, Ibn Abbas. He died in the year 101. So these are all very early Muslims. He wrote a book also on the Seerah. After that, we have who? And we said he is one of the main figures of the Seerah. You can answer now, Shaykh Ashur. After him. Now, Musa ibn Uqba. Musa ibn Uqba. He is fairly unknown, to be honest, but he's one of the main figureheads of the Seerah. Musa ibn Uqba. And he also met the Sahaba radiallahu anhum directly, so he took the Seerah directly. Then comes Muhammad ibn Ishaq. If you feel I'm going too fast, this was all in yesterday's class. We're just doing a review or a recap, actually. We have after that Muhammad bin Ishaq. He's the most famous for the Seerah. And he's famous for the Seerah, even though he was also a scholar of Hadith. Ibn Ishaq. After him, there's so many of them. How many books of Seerah do you have, Shaykh Ashur, you said?
At least 185.
Okay. 25 books of Seerah. All those names. After them, so many people came. And we said, just the fact that Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawood, Ibn Majah, all these scholars of Hadith, they wrote books of Hadith, but a major part of it is Seerah also. A major part is Seerah. Imam al-Tabari, we did not mention him yesterday, we have to mention him. Imam al-Tabari, his book is the best book in the history of Muslims generally, not just the Seerah. He wrote the Seerah, in fact, he wrote the Seerah, then he wrote the Seerah of Abu Bakr, then Umar, then Uthman, then Ali, and then he went on until his time. After him, would say even better is Ibn Kathir, in his book Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya. Ibn Kathir, he went to the prophets first, so he started from Adam. Yes. You know the famous book, Stories of the Prophets of Ibn Kathir? That's why it's taken. It's just part of a big book. He wrote about the prophets, and then he wrote about our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that book is also printed now separately. And then he wrote about the Sahaba, and then he wrote until his time, 700 years. How long do you think it took him to write? You guys are bored already. I've just been talking for 15 minutes. Ibn Kathir, he sat and wrote without Microsoft Word or an Apple computer, in fact. He sat and wrote with those, feather pens and ink, with a lamp which he had to put oil in it. No Wikipedia references, and never take your Islam from Wikipedia, by the way. Never do that mistake. How long do you think it took him? Years and years and years. The least we can do is appreciate those people. Say, okay, these people, they did something for Islam. And then we have the recent books. The most famous of them in English language, ar-Rahīqul makhtum, the Sealed Nectar, by Shaykh ar-Rahmah Mubarak Furi, or better Mubarak Puri. That's how it's said in Indian. In Arabic, because we don't have the P in Arabic, we say Mubarak Furi. He is Mubarak Puri, and that's where he comes from. And this is a huge family of scholars of Hadith. He's just one of them. Mubarak Puri, the name, you'll see it all over Islam, mashallah. And the scholars of India, they preserved the Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ in the last 200 years. Like Shaykh al-Albani said, if it was not for them, knowledge of Hadith will be gone. But people rarely appreciate them. And most of them, they're even unknown. One of them died last week. His name is Shaykh Gonda Halawi. He was 93 years old. Most of the shuyukh in Makkah and Medina, they're his students. Who heard about that news? One person, two. So, Shaykh Safiur Rahman, he wrote this book, very nice book. This was for a competition. They had a Seerah competition in 1979, which is how many years now? 38 years ago. Most of us were not born yet. And he won first prize, and the book just became famous. Allah puts barakah in it. We are going to use this book as our guide. We're not going to take everything from the book, no. We're going to use it as our guide. If you don't have the book, you can purchase the book somewhere here. With that said, it means there's some things I don't agree with the Shaykh. Doesn't mean I'm better than the Shaykh, no, it's just my style. Especially for our audience, like the first 44 pages, I'm jumping them. I told the brothers this in the hotel room. The first 44 pages, we don't need it. You can read by yourself, yes, you should, at home, not in class. Basically, it talks about the Persian Empire and who was the king and what we used to do, and who used to rule Yemen and what happened, and who used to rule the Romans and this and that. The history of the Arabs, where they come from Adnan and who fought who. And to be honest, even when you discuss it, by the time you leave this class, you'll forget. Because I myself have forgotten all of that. I don't recall anything. And I remember first time I read this book, I got confused. So this is too much. When is the Seerah starting? That's what I said to me. When is the Seerah starting? You don't need most of it, that's my point. But you can read yourself, inshallah, yes. Now, with that being said, we will always have time for questions. So if you have questions, just please write them down. When time for question comes, you will ask all your questions, inshallah. Not now. This is the second lecture of a weekend, inshallah, today and tomorrow. And then we'll have 3 more weekends like this year. That is the plan. We'll have 3 more weekends. So another Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of this year, 2017. And then we'll do it again in 2018, 4 times. And we'll cover the Seerah. The original idea was just to cover it in 2017. But it's like our hearts were same with the brothers at Amma. We talked in Ramadan, I said, I like to teach the Seerah, and then we sit and discuss what do we learn? What do we learn today? Living in Ottawa 2017 with all this, everything happen around us in the world. How do we benefit from the Seerah? That's the point. It's not just story reading club. So he said, I don't know if we can do it in 4 weekends. They said, oh, we were thinking the same thing. I said, alhamdulillah, we do it in 8 weekends, so we add next year also. And that is better for all of us. Now, we are going to take a break at 1:25 to prepare for Dhuhr. And this will be the same itinerary for tomorrow also. We'll break at 1:25, get ready for Dhuhr, which is 1:30. Immediately after Dhuhr, when you pray your Sunnah, we come back. So around 1:45, 1:50, we start again. And we go to 2:45 and take a break for lunch, coffee, whatever suits you. And then we continue from 3:15. I hope someone's writing this. We continue from 3:15. So we said, first break is 1:25 for Dhuhr. Then we start at 1:50, 1:45. We go to 2:45, an hour. We don't want to sit here and then we are bored. And you feel shy for leaving because I'm watching you. Say, I don't want to leave when the Shaykh is watching you. Let him drink some water, so I skip. 2:45, next break. And we have a half an hour break for lunch. That's lunch. To 3:15. 3:15, we go all the way to 4:15. Break. We restart at 4:25. 4:25, we go, your Dhuhr, Asr is 5:30, right? 4:25 to 5:25. We pray Asr. 5:45, we restart. And we finish at 7. I'll restart again. First break is 1:25 for Dhuhr. We restart at 1:50. 1:50. We go to 2:45. We take a break to 3:15, half an hour lunch. 3:15, we go to 4:15. We take a break. We restart at 4:25. Just 10-minute break. Stretch your legs. 4:25 to 5:25. We break for Asr. And then after that, we just go until 7 p.m. If we need a break, we'll break. But mostly that time I'll give you time for questions. So, Taib, you guys agree to that? It's a democracy. So, and we're in Ottawa, so the parliament is next to us, so we gotta be democratic. You guys agree to that? Taib, good. Now, that is also same thing for tomorrow. When is the next class? The brothers will announce to you, maybe tomorrow or day after, I don't know. It is very important that you have your own book to follow. It's very important. And this book has been reprinted recently by Darus Salam, and they put colors in it and maps and whatnot. It's good, but it's not for a class. You'll get distracted. I opened the book because I was going to bring them for you, and I got distracted. It was nice maple leaves, and then there's nice, I don't know, picture of a boat or a plane, whatever. I was like, wow, this is so nice. I was like, oh, I'm not reading actually, I'm looking at pictures. And I realized, no, it's going to be a problem. So I prefer the plain text because we're here to study. You know, get your copy if you can. I'll be reading. What I need to explain, I will explain. I said yesterday, in English we are limited. In Arabic we have more than 50 books of the Seerah. I have read, and I brought 2 of mine, 1 and 2 here. Whatever I feel is nice to give to you, I'll give it to you, inshallah. What we need to know of the Seerah. So, and by the way, I don't know what's the name of the brother. I don't want to forget this, afwan. The brother was taking the names for those who want the book. إيش كان اسمه؟ Huh? Yes. Okay. I said this is one of the best books to be written recently of the Seerah. It's called Al-Lu'ul Maknoon fi Sirat al-Nabi al-Ma'mun by Musa al-Azimi. He's a sheikh from Kuwait. This is volume 1. There's 3 more volumes. I don't know what stores you have in Ottawa. People keep asking me this last night. Where do I get in Ottawa? I don't know. I know Tim Hortons is here, and Shoppers is there, and my hotel is there. I don't know who sells books in Ottawa, so I don't know. But I can guarantee you it, you won't find it. Because we can't even find it in Toronto. I had to get this when we went for Umrah this year. But, subhanAllah, it just happened. And this is Allah being merciful to you people. Wallahi. After the lecture yesterday, a brother came, said, I'm from Kuwait. Whoever wants the book, let him write his name and number. So someone from the sister side, just make a list, whoever wants the book. I would say everybody should get the book, man. Even if you don't read Arabic. Just have the book. One day you'll read it. Someone make a list, name and number. And we'll forward it to the brother. There's a brother who's making the list, so I think he'll come here soon. Or someone else should make a new list. So,
I suggest sending the name for a particular email.
no, that's too complicated. Yes, someone will put a piece of paper and...
We can pass a piece of paper.
Yeah, just pass the piece of paper. Jazakallah khair. Name and phone number, that's what he wanted. Taib, so this is my recommendation. After saying that, my next recommendation is this book. It's called Seerah An-Nabawiyya Sahiha. Seerah An-Nabawiyya Sahiha, written by Dr. Akram Al-Umari. Dr. Akram Al-Umari is Iraqi, originally from Iraq. He was very proficient, an expert in the Seerah. They took him in Medina University, made him the head of the Seerah department. He taught there for so many years until he passed away. But he is one of the pioneers of writing the Seerah from only authentic sources. Which brings me to my next point. When you read books of Seerah, books of history in general, any history, Canadian history, Somali history, Moroccan history, any books of history, they are all tainted. They're not pure. People write what they want to write. Our Seerah also of the Prophet ﷺ, that's what happened. So the later scholars who came, they did a great job of filtering out what is right, what is not right. I'll give an example. The famous story of, and don't ask me questions, say don't ask questions. When the Prophet ﷺ was migrating and he went to the cave, what happened in the cave? Tell me what you know. Yeah, there was the spider, and the spider made the web, right? Yeah, and then the spider protect him. That's why you're not supposed to kill spiders as Muslims today, right? That's what we were taught. Actually, if you look at the actual books of Seerah, there was no spiders. And then there was a pigeon or a dove, and it had its eggs there, and that one is debatable. Some of the scholars say, yeah, this is actually Sahih. I'm just giving you a random, simple example. There's many details of the Seerah which, we need to refresh. Most importantly, like I said, we are just going to discuss what we need and what we are going to benefit from. So, in any literature, there has to be the characters and there has to be a setting. Anybody studying literature here in university maybe? Yeah, it's too boring. But we were forced because we studied under the British, so we have to study literature. Shakespeare and... I heard Shakespeare was Arab. I was Arab actually. What is his real name? Shakespeare. Will Shakespeare. Okay. Someone said that to me and I said, okay. I know my Shakespeare, man. He wrote Macbeth, that's it. And Romeo and Juliet and whatnot. What was I saying? This always makes me laugh. Will Shakespeare. Any literature has characters. Who are the characters? And then there's the setting. Where is this happening? There's characters, and then where is this happening? And then there's the time. You watch any movie, it's like that. You read any book, it's like that. Character, setting, which means location, and time. Who is our character in what we are discussing? The main character is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Number 2, what was the time? That's where I want to start. When